We are probably 1 or 2 minutes behind time, but that's no big deal. Recording and live stream council video. Would you read the following statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All council meetings are filmed with both video and audio being recorded. Recording is focused on the area, starting at Mr. Bird over here, across to Councillor Forsyth, while audio from the entire room is captured. By speaking during question time or at any time, you consent to your voice and any comments you make being recorded. In common with all narrative in a council meeting, verbal responses to congratulations, obituaries and question time will not be recorded in the written minutes of council meetings and will be available on council's YouTube channel. The reason, of course, that council records our meetings is to do what we try and do every day across our entire organisation and improve transparency of our operations and improve access for all ratepayers to the business of council. The meeting is live streamed on council's YouTube channel and is available on the same YouTube channel after the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just some housekeeping rules. Those that have mobile devices, please turn them off to silent, please, or turn them off altogether. Please stand for the of traditional custodians, recognition of all people, and the opening prayer.
The Alpine Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we're now on. We also acknowledge those people who have contributed to the rich fabric of our community and strive to make wise decisions that will improve the quality of life for all.
Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of minutes, 3.1 ordinary council meeting, 5th of July 2016.
I so move.
Councillor Farrell. Councillor Keeble, thank you. All those in favour? Carried. I understand that Councillor Forsyth was not present at that meeting, so he didn't put his hand up. Apologies. Nil. Obituaries and congratulations. From my left, Councillor Farrell.
Yes, I'd like to put an obituary in for David Vigo. Had a celebration of his life on Friday night at choir in Mount Beauty.
Councillor Keeble. Councillor Pearce.
Yeah, just a mention to a beautiful member of our society that we lost during the week. Sharon Martin fought the battle for the last 9 or 10 years, passed away earlier this week. Beautiful lady and sadly passed.
Councillor Roper? No, thank you. Declarations by council of conflict of interest. Councillor,
I'd like to.
Full-time?
Yeah, I'd like to. Sorry, that I will probably have a. I will have a conflict of interest in the event funding section of tonight, due to my relationship and position with Myrtleford Rotary. Thanks.
I also have a conflict of interest with the Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre as I'm on the board.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a conflict of interest, but in 8.4.2, just to be noted that I'm a member of Blackwood Special School, Kangaroo, Creek Rider, Nordic Ski Club, Mount Beauty Half Marathon to the Mount Beauty Nordic Ski Club and Team Mount Beauty. I don't have any direct committee membership roles on either of those.
Might as well go along the track. I'll be next cab off the rank. I have I'm involved in the Myrtleford Land Care Group as a working member. not on the committee. I'm involved with the Relay for Life, which has an application in just as a participant, and I am a member of the Myrtleford Men's Shed, but not on any committee in that regard. But so I'll remove myself in relation to the Myrtleford Landcare Group. I'll remove myself from the chamber when that decision's made. Is any further up the track there? Just fill this in. No? Okay. So it'll be a little bit musical chairs there at the latter stage of the evening, but we will endeavour to ensure that the proper process is conducted. Item 7, question time. We have questions on notice this evening, and there's a few of them, so we'll get through. Mr. Child, Little Child, I notice that you are present and you have given us questions on notice, so if it's okay with you, I'll just read them from you and we'll get a response as we go. You have 4 questions. Question 1, given that other councils have, as best I can ascertain, divested themselves of commercial caravan parks as they do not see parks as appropriate council activity, why does Alpine Shire continue to operate rather than sell this asset? Mr. Barry, I think you're...
Yep. Mr. Mayor, there are a number of caravan parks that we own and lease, which is very common across our sector. And as mentioned, there is a caravan park that we own and operate. Council is philosophically opposed to ever competing against private enterprise because it results in us being on sometimes an uneven playing field. So for example, we seek to minimise any sale of merchandise in our facilities and so forth. Consistent with this, at its December council meeting, council made a decision to exit that caravan park and put it up for lease over the coming months, and that is what we will be proceeding with. The reason the council determines to lease these facilities rather than sell them outright is the facilities the council is responsible for are all on Crown land. So if we were to well, it would be impossible for council to sell the facilities because we are merely a committee of management for those caravan parks. So therefore, the next best thing that we think that removes us from that commercial conflict is to lease the facility.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. Second question, to encourage diverse representation and fresh ideas and viewpoints, has council considered limiting councillors to 2 terms?
This is not really a question for council. The democracy the council is governed under is derived from predominantly the Local Government Act 1989, which I have mentioned at previous meetings is currently under review, and perhaps by 2018, 2020 we may have a new act. There is nothing foreshadowed in the new act, and there is certainly nothing in the current act that enables council to limit the terms of councillors. And I can only hypothesise that that is consistent with other democratically elected representatives, but regardless of council's views, it is not within their power to limit the terms of councillors.
Thank you. Number 3, as councillors, attendance at meetings is important. If balanced and fair decisions are to be achieved, why aren't councillors' attendance records published on the website for public scrutiny?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So councillors' attendance at meetings is recorded on the website in the council minutes and in the annual report as well. Last year's annual report hasn't been finalised, but you will find a tabulation of attendances on page 45 of the 2014-15 annual report.
Thank you. Question 4. In the public document, the Register of Interest, it is stated that Council in 2015-16 provided $169,000 worth of logistics to assist commercial events in the Shire. If this support is to continue, should a discretionary rate be directed to the commercial and not the industrial sector to help support this expense?
Mr. Mayor, just a bit of background. We currently have a commercial and industrial rate, which is a differential rate which replaced a previously contentious special rate. That is set at 43%. So in other words, commercial properties and industrial properties, including facilities like holiday homes, all pay that rate. Mr. Littlechild asked a question relating to rates at the July Council meeting relating to vacant land, and I guess in common with that response I would say that whenever Council sets its rating strategy, there are always people that believe that they can refine it to make it better, and no doubt there are ways of making it better. But what I know is every time we make a change, some people feel they're winning and some people feel that they're losing. So what Council is always trying to do is strike a balance between residential ratepayers, commercial and industrial. The question goes to who do events benefit, and depending on who you are, you might have a different view on who pays for it. What we use in determining our rating structure is we look, there's a rating strategy review conducted from time to time, and the philosophy of Council's current rating structure is on page 91 of this year's budget. But broadly speaking, what Council looks at is things like the national accounts and sees where the flow of every tourism dollar flows. So if you talk to a commercial property owner, they will say, well, my tourism dollar flows to the electrician and to the plumber and to the person operating a laundry and to the car mechanic. So some of them will say it flows to the residential ratepayer. I guess what I'm trying to say all in all is it's a very difficult thing to balance a rating structure, and what you will find is across most councils in Victoria we adopt a broadly common rating structure. Council is capable of modifying that at budget time every year, and of course we act under the instruction of Council, so if we do modify it we'll act accordingly. But by and large we feel that the current rating structure is suitable. Our event spend is small in the scheme of our whole budget, and it would require a lot of depth of looking at the flows of dollars, which I'd be comfortable talking Mr. Littlechild through offline to understand better where Council's rating philosophy comes from. But in short, I suppose the rating philosophy, as I said, is one of those things that everyone feels they pay too much and get too little.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. The next question comes from Beth Smith, Twonga South, also a member of the UK VCA, and I note that they have representatives here this evening, so welcome. The Mount Beauty Community Centre is in need of some urgent repairs. There are a number of places where the rotten boards are obvious, around the windows especially, and there are areas which need painting. This has been mentioned to Council previously. When will this be done? Beth Smith, and I think Mr. Bird, you have a response to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Council is aware of this matter, and I believe the Council officer has met with representatives from the community to inspect the building. We have a wide range of maintenance works that are required across the Shire, and we've elected to take an approach where we are going to aggregate similar works together to ensure that works can be completed in an efficient and cost-effective manner. But I guess the downside of this approach has been that some projects have been delayed to some extent, and now Beauty Community Centre fits that. But I expect these works to be completed by November this year.
Thanks, Mr. Bird. And I expect that response will be taken back to Beth. Thank you. The next 6 questions come from Jane Sullivan, resident in Smoko. What capital works have been undertaken and delivered at Dinner Plain since the CEO, Dave Barry, has been appointed? Mr. Bird?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since CEO Dave Barry has been appointed, there's been $1.45 million worth of capital works delivered at Dinner Plain, and I'll just run through the list. Bear with me as I do this. So firstly, the Gravity Adventure Park, which includes snowmaking, a tubing hill and ski field lighting. the Bra Trail, which is a trail from Hotham to Dinner Plain. There have been road repairs such as stormwater drainage and pit renewal, curb renewal. There's been an upgrade to tennis courts, frisbee golf, installation of fitness stations, repairs to Scrubbers End car park, improvements to the Castrum Corner steps, installation of interpretive signage and directional signage, improvements to the horse yards, gravel surfacing of the Link Road, installation of a cattle grid, and removal of woodshed at the depot. Other capital works related projects include the feasibility study for the Dinner Plain Village Green, the Dinner Plain Master Plan, and Master Plan Native Vegetation Assessment for the Dinner Plain mountain bike trails. And there's also been a study done on the water tower.
That's a very impressive list, Mr. Bird. I don't know how our CEO has time to do all these things or supervise with all the other matters that he has responsibility for. Question 2. Can Council advise how much has been spent on consultancy costs for the past 3 years?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that one. So we'll need to go back to Ms. Sullivan to get a little bit more information. We classify consultancy costs very broadly, so I'm looking at a list in front of me here. So for example, we lump consultancy and some project delivery together. So for example, our highest consultancy cost that I can see in the spreadsheet in front of me was for 2 ensuite units at the Murderford Caravan Park, then followed by some concreting, then followed by our valuation services. So we have quite a broad spectrum under the accounting standards as to how we define consultancy costs. So I'll go back to Ms. Sullivan and just get a little more information on exactly what sort of consultancy she's looking at, and then we will be able to provide some further information.
I think that's an efficient use of time, Mr. Barry, because I see that list there. It's going to take us all night to have a look at some of that.
There's approximately 1,000 items on the list for last year alone.
And I think it would be remiss of me to keep the people here that long. Can Council advise if audited accounts will be done for Dinner Plain in the upcoming financial report for the year? If not, why not?
Mr. Mayor, I can respond to that one. So the Dinner Plain business function is audited as part of the annual financial audit of Council. It's not done separately. Council must prepare annual financial statements that are audited by an external auditor appointed by the Office of the Auditor General, and also must comply with the model annual financial statements that are provided by Local Government Victoria, and they don't include that detailed separate business units. It's probably also worth mentioning that Council has recently completed an 11-year retrospective audit of the Dinner Plain business function, and that's as requested by the Dinner Plain ratepayers. And that audit found that Council had acted appropriately regarding raising and administering the Dinner Plain special rate. And that audit report has been presented and is available on Council's website.
Did Ms. Sullivan get a copy of that report?
She'd certainly, I believe that she has through that letter that I mentioned, and is on the website.
Thank you.
Mr. Barry, did you know?
No, I think Council understands the very substantive effort that we have gone to get the Dinner Plain accounts audited, including the review of many thousands of line items, the appointment of an independent auditor at some substantive cost, and the attendance at several meetings at Dinner Plain to convey the outcomes of those audits. And of course, we'd welcome any opportunity to talk to Ms. Sullivan to provide further information. And again, in responding to her, I'll put forward that option as we do to all ratepayers. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Question number 4. A number of accounts with reserves have been closed in the past 3 years. Can Council summarise all the accounts closed and the amounts, and advise what has happened to these funds? Seems to be a lengthy process here.
Mr. Mayor, I can. So there are 4 reserves in particular. So there's the Plant Replacement Reserve, Land Development Reserve, Emergency Response Reserve, and the Community Loans Reserve. And the closing balances in each of those were $674,366. $109,000, $18,000 and $6,000 respectively. Plant replacement reserve was closed in July 2016, so I think that was the last meeting, in fact, that was dealt with. And the other three reserves were dealt with in June 2014. The funds were transferred to Council's accumulated surplus, meaning that the funds are no longer reserved. And that's because Council is now in a very strong financial position. We have a robust, I should say, long-term financial plan, and now budget for these expenditures accordingly. And further details, if Ms Sullivan is after those, are available in the Council minutes for June 2014 and July 2016, and they're available online.
Thank you. Question 5. Council was implementing a number of recommendations from a financial fraud review. Can Council advise the latest status of all recommendations?
They're complete, Mr Mayor. So all recommendations identified in the review of the Council's fraud controls have been implemented and reported to Council's Audit Committee, with the last actions being completed in November 2014. Those actions, by the way, were a fixed assets stock take, a cash receipting policy, purchase order process review, and Spark, which is our online project tracking tool.
Good, thank you. And lastly, can Council advise where ratepayers can view the asset register for Dinner Plain?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I believe Alpine Shire Council is one of the few councils in Victoria which has its GIS information available online, and as such, Council's assets such as roads, bridges, stormwater drainage, buildings, etc. can be viewed on Council's online GIS system. However, if further detail is required, I'd be happy to arrange a meeting to view that further detail.
I think that'd be an appropriate approach to that question. Thank you. And I'm sure somebody will get back to Ms Sullivan with those responses. Thank you. I apologise, we do have one more here. Question form from Sean Hallam. I'll go into it anyway, but although the current critical situation with the Mount Buffalo Chalet is technically a state government issue, the reopening of the chalet would clearly be of great economical, social and tourism value to the northeast, as well as the whole of Victoria. As the Alpine Shire Council gives many grants to organisation and events that bring tourism to the northeast region, does the Council have a fund or are prepared to create a fund for the likely imminent public campaign that will be required to save the Mount Buffalo Chalet? In responding to Mr Hallam, I think it would be remiss of Council to have such a fund, seeing that it is not our asset and something that he acknowledges there. It is not on our land. We advocate, and we have been strongly advocating on behalf of our communities to have some works done to that chalet to bring it back to a standard. It would not benefit our ratepayers if we were seen to be adversarial with a government of any persuasion. What our duty would be in this instance is to work in a close manner with either side of government, so we have a what I call a bilateral approach, which we have been taking, to work with government and the relevant agencies to ensure that the works to that chalet continue in a timely manner, and to ensure that that iconic building, as part of the Mount Buffalo National Park area as a whole, it all comes together in a plan. And I sit on a panel, Mount Buffalo Destination Advisory Group, of which I represent council, and then there are other members from the representing the community on that panel. And we meet, we've only met a few times, but those meetings have been constructive, and I know that we are going to Melbourne in the near future. I don't think being adversarial at this point and stating to government that we're going to put up some sort of fighting fund would be advantageous to anybody. We are certainly keen and listen to what the community is saying about that precinct up there. Yeah, Mr. Barry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Mayor, just to, I suppose, give a brief chronology from memory of the events involved so far. So Mr. Jacobson, who established Community Action for the Chalet, approached us to support this very important community cause. Immediately we set about preparing a prospectus and in conjunction with the community and working to have meetings with the Minister that you briefly mentioned. We had 2 meetings with the Minister, and then flowing on from that, you've been appointed to this advisory committee. So I guess the picture I'm just trying to paint is that I feel that thus far, whatever's been requested of council and of council staff, we've done absolutely our utmost to accommodate that.
And in doing so, we have spent some thousands of dollars, and in presenting those plans to the relevant minister to ensure that this project proceeds. That is the end of the questions on notice. I hope those questions have been answered to the best of it. I know they've been answered to the best of our staff's ability, and if anyone wants to take it up any further, then they can contact this office. I go now to questions from the floor. If you have a question, please raise your hand and state your name, and I will call. Please ensure that they are questions rather than statements. Thank you. Mr. Dyer.
My name is Ray Dyer. I have 2 letters here. One was addressed to all the councillors and is dated the 28th of April, 6th of July, 27th of June and the 17th of May. And what it says is, dear councillors, I would like to meet with you and the Mayor as regards the action of the CEO and Mayor.
I think we've dealt with this before, Mr. Dyer. Now,
we have not.
What's the question, sir?
The question is, I put this letter in for 4 months, and the bottom of this question, if you allow me to read it out, very uncooperative towards me. If you're not going to meet with me, I would like it in writing, the reasons why. Enough is enough. That's been 4 months.
Mr. Barry.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. And I must apologise to Mr. Dyer in that I don't think you were at the council meeting when the councillors verbally responded to that letter, but certainly if I don't know if that was in the time where we recorded council meetings, but I recall the councillors around the table verbally responding to your views. I understood that those views had been conveyed to you, but broadly speaking, the councillors around the table, my recollection is, were unwilling to meet with you, or a number of them were unwilling to meet with you, and I think it's unfortunate that you weren't at that particular meeting, and perhaps it is worth just recapping on that, Mr. Mayor.
Was that last council meeting, was it?
No, it was Mr. Dyer, it was around the time that you wrote the letter. It was probably the meeting following the letter.
I do recall you being at a meeting, Mr. Dyer, where the councillors quite categorically told you that they were not prepared to meet with you.
Oh, that's exactly right.
Yes.
And I took that up with the Minister for Ovens Valley, Tim McCurdy, Honourable Tim McCurdy, and I advised, referred to the previous communications relating to local government concerns. I've advised the Minister of Industrial Relations and Local Government and Aboriginal Affairs.
Sorry, what's the question, Mr. Dyer, please?
I asked you about 3 months ago, are you prepared to speak with me, with a member from local government or state government, as to concerns with the Alpine Shire being stonewalled on many occasions and questions not being answered? Primary example, this 4 months putting a letter in, and you have
Yes.
not responded to the letter. You haven't even put it in writing that you're not going to do it.
We've told you personally, sir. What better?
That's not
What
good
better?
enough. No.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but what better? What better customer service can you have than to be told personally?
4 months, Ron. 4
Oh,
months.
you just didn't hear what I just told you, Mr. Dyer. You just obviously are not
So-
listening, sir.
Many times over the last 10 years, you've asked me to put it in writing. Is that
Yes.
correct if I have concerns?
Yes,
Did I put it in writing in 4 months, you don't do a damn thing about it?
we
You
have
call that
done,
good
sir.
leadership?
No, we have. I'm not.
No, you
I'm
haven't.
not debating anything further with you.
All right.
You have been told. Thank
I'll
you.
go to the minister. When I go to
Please
the
do.
minister...
We have
as I
always
said-
said that. Please do that.
All right, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
And, Mr. Mayor, I should add that we have written to Mr. Dyer just outlining the mechanisms with which you can complain about the behaviours of staff and councillors if you feel that's the case. And I know we've certainly provided those mechanisms to you in writing. Thank you.
So, are there any further questions from the floor? Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Littlechild. The question is, does Council have an articulated, published statement as to its organisation's culture? And if so, is it a requirement for employees to fit into this culture? Do you have a published statement of your organisational culture?
Well, like all organisations, we have values, so it would be common that we would expect values are one of the things by which we expect our staff to conform.
Is this a published document?
Yes, it is. I think it's in our annual report, our council plan.
And how, is it described as a set of values, or is it described as organisational culture?
Values. Yeah. Yeah.
And is a requirement for employees to fit into this culture within your organisation?
Well, I feel that you're.
there's
I feel you're dealing with a specific case here, Mr. Littlechild. So
I may well be.
I'm possibly answering it with that case in mind.
Well,
So-
perhaps you shouldn't. Perhaps
Yeah.
you should just answer the question. And the question is, do you have published organisational?
Hang on.
Point of order.
Sir, this is question time.
Well, that's the question.
And
Being
you don't-
answered in the-
Okay, thanks. If that's the answer, complete answer, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Good evening.
I'm sure, Mr. Littlechild, if there's something further you want to address in relation to that, Mr. Barry would be happy to have a conversation with you, sir.
Can I just very briefly, because I feel the need to answer this question, but and councillors can just indulge me for 1 second. If you talk about culture, I feel that you're talking about, say, when we recruit staff into the organisation, what sorts of things do we look at? And we look at a range of factors, things including knowledge, skills, experience. Do we have the job for that person in the first instance? And oftentimes, so I guess what I'm saying is a very multifaceted approach what we expect from any employee, and it would be unfair of me to try and distill that down to, do you fit the values of the organisation or do you fit the culture of the organisation? It is a diverse number of things that we expect from our staff. We expect, as I said, we expect qualifications, we expect professional expertise, we expect people to act in accordance with our values. And most importantly, oftentimes there are things that the community is unaware of in terms of recruitment and other campaigns. Fundamentally, sometimes you just don't actually have the available hours to offer to someone.
Thank you, Mr. Barry. No further questions, we'll move on. 8.1.1, contracts approved by the CEO.
Mr Mayor, I believe there's just one contract approved by me this month, which is for works on the Porponka detailed design and also the Mafeking Square detailed design, so that works on both of those projects can commence this year, noting that both works commencements are contingent on government funding. Thank you.
I'll second.
Councillor Von Arx, Councillor Farrell. All those in favour? Carried. 8.1.2 Community Satisfaction Survey. Is that been read, or
I can talk about
Barry?
it, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor.
thank you.
Mr Mayor, the Community Satisfaction Survey is required to be conducted by every council every year. We're required to at least get a small number of indicators responded to because they form part of the local government performance reporting framework. Never want to overhype these things, but what you can see, I believe, across every single indicator is that we are better and significantly better than the small group of councils for which we are compared against. So you see the results there in front of you, but overall performance 60 versus 57. And one of the things that was probably most heartening for us, and one of the areas we have focused the hardest on, is community consultation, 60 versus 55. Community making, and tied in with that, making community decisions, so decisions being made in the interest of the community, 60 versus 53, which is quite a substantive gap. Sealed local roads, 60 versus 52, and overall council direction, 59 versus 50. So you see we perform very well versus our peer group. And also what is heartening for us is, I believe, just quickly glancing down through it, versus 2015, we have also improved against every single indicator. As I said, I don't want to overhype these results, but there are some things in there that resonate with us in the areas that we focus on. And as always, whenever we have any good news, we like to reiterate, lest our community think that we're getting too carried away, that we have a long way to go in terms of improvement as well, but hopefully bit by bit we're getting there. Thank you.
Okay, move and second, please. Councillor Forsyth.
Second.
Councillor Pearce. Councillor Forsyth.
No, I just think it's a great set of results, and it's partly to do, I believe, with the culture that happens to be within. Sorry, I shouldn't have this microphone.
On for you. I think it's to do with the culture that's now we see within this organisation. So, good improvements, and I don't know how you're going to surpass it next year.
Councillor Pearce.
Well, John, 59 and 60, there's 70s and 80s ahead, so we can look forward to those.
Councillor Roper.
I note that the report costs us $8,000 to have this report. The question I have is that we're in an age now where people are using landlines less and less, and I don't know of anyone that actually got rug on a mobile phone to partake in this process. And gee, we're going all right as far as this is concerned, but would you hang your hat on it as an overall outcome of how we perform our business? I don't think so, no. And actually, I think we could spend the $8,000 better if it wasn't a statutory requirement.
So, yeah, Mr Mayor, if I can just, as Councillor Roper has alluded to, we actually ceased participation in this study a number of years ago because we felt it offered poor value for money. For all the reasons you allude to, we would rather judge our performance based on the general feedback we get for our community. But of course, as part of the introduction of the local government performance reporting framework, the requirement to have this study was reintroduced, and up there with some of the big costs imposed on us by state government, including the electoral boundary review and other like-minded things, it seems to be an awful lot of money for a very small task.
If I may say, it's a pretty pathetic form of governance to check on the governance of the local shire when you look at all the other good things that we've actually done as far as the council's concerned. So, that's the only thing that I take issue with this.
So, Mr Mayor, I mean, for us, one of our biggest achievements this year, I think, has been delivering 99% of our capital works programme. Last year, I should say, compared with averages in the order of 50 and 60%. And also my other big criticism of any local government performance reporting is we've worked very hard at eliminating where high costs are incurred in council, which is in our back office area, where you can tend to get the highest corporate overheads, and the framework has no recognition of measuring how much corporate costs you have. It has no recognition of how much red tape you have in your organisation.
Thank you. Councillor Forsyth, finish?
No reply.
No. No further comment. Take it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Nil? Carried. No. 8.3.1. Proposed fish passage structure at the Bright and Forpunka Weirs. Director Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alpine Shire Council has two weirs, one in Bright, one in Forpunka. The purpose of these weirs are for seasonal recreational weirs used for seasonal swimming. And this report relates to a proposed fish passage structure to be constructed at each of these to allow safe fish passage. The Ovens River is a high priority river identified by the North East Catchment Management Authority, and the need to remove these, or I guess to address the artificial barriers, has been identified as a priority by the State Fishways Program, and in accordance with that, or in response to that, the CMA has already secured funding to complete a detailed design for fish passage structures at each of these weirs, which council officers have participated in over the last 9 months. And it's proposed that the fish passage structure be retrofitted to the existing weir structures, and the next step for the CMA, the next step is that the CMA are seeking to pursue funding to construct the fish passage structures, and each of these structures are estimated to cost $2 million each, so $4 million in total. And so that's the asset adds and their intention is for the council to take on the ownership and operation of those fish passage structures as a result. And so that would add about $10,000 a year for asset maintenance, and then for both structures $5,000 each, and it also adds an asset renewal requirement for the life of the asset to be renewed at the end of it, about $80,000 per annum. In addition to that, the fish passages, if anyone's seen one, there's a lot of it around, I guess, further west of here. They're typically concrete and large galvanised steel structures, which may not blend in too well with our local environments where the current weirs are. So it's important that it's taken into consideration. It's also important that the public safety of any of these structures be an important consideration, and also that these structures don't lead to an increased flood risk by constraining or confining the flow of the river. However, if council, so it's proposed that CMA seek funding and build the structures, and then council would take on the ownership and operation of the structures. And you can, as I discussed, that's quite a significant financial implication for council. However, if council doesn't choose to do that, there is a risk that if the weirs need to be repaired or renewed, then that would trigger the works to, a permit is required to do those works, and in there would be a condition that council would be required to construct a fish passage structure. In effect, they would then need to pay for the $2 million per structure. So taking all these points into consideration, it's recommended that council support the North East Catchment Management Authority's application to secure funding to construct a fish passage structure at the Bright and Forpunka recreational weirs, providing that there's sufficient budget to ensure any introduced structures are sensitive to the surrounding environment, especially from a functional and aesthetic perspective.
So moved, Mr Mayor, because I've got a couple of proposed changes from this point on.
Yes.
And
If you'd like to put that in.
My proposed change would be the 2. It can be demonstrated that any proposed in-stream infrastructure would not result in increased public risk or increased flooding risk within the townships. So when I'm talking about increased public risk, that because these structures are going to be located next to our swimming pools, that there's not a chance for anyone to be injured or sucked into it or whatever, or eaten by a giant Murray crane, or whatever, in one of these structures. And then part B, at the end of that, authority secure funding and construct the fish passage structures, subject to council's current and future financial capacity to maintain its assets into the future. Okay?
Next
and then
questions.
that's at the end.
At the end.
And then C goes opposites, and then the and comes up.
Can we just wait till the scribe catches up?
Council's, subject to council's
Current and future financial capacity to maintain its assets.
current and future financial capacity to maintain its assets in the future. You can put the end in
You've
future.
already mentioned future.
Exactly, so you can drop that bit off. And then after the colon, C, and then the colon, C.
subject to council's current and future financial capacity to maintain
Its assets.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say there is that we built this facility, okay, and then there is a reality that at some point in the future it will expire from its current, it will have to be rebuilt again, and we don't want to tie ourselves into a cost in however many years' time that we're not quite sure how much it's going to be, or our ability to actually pay that cost in the future. So we're happy to take the asset on, have the assets sit on the asset register. We're happy to be involved with the asset, as long as it doesn't increase the risk to the public using those pools at Bright and at Port Bunker. They're basically the avenues.
Yep.
All right? Sorry.
Sorry, you want to have a look at that and you're happy with that, and then we'll...
Well, Mr Mayor, seeing as I'm over the age of 50, my eyesight's struggling, I'm too vain to buy a pair of glasses, and I forgot, I actually left them in the car at home because I came in Tony's car. I can't read that.
I've got a spare pair of twos.
I will walk closer and I will determine whether it's actually what I said.
Load it to 140, can you?
Can we prescription grind back? Yeah, exactly.
Make it bigger.
That's embarrassingly close.
It's big.
I blew it up for you, Dave.
That's fine.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. We'll take the recommendation as is written to a vote.
We second it?
My apologies.
I'll second.
We will...
I'll second. Tony, oh, sorry,
Doesn't matter.
Just a moment. Can we have someone...
Tony seconded.
Councillor Keeble was second. And who's put it forward? Councillor...
I might add at this juncture, Mr Mayor, that if I squint I can read it.
Okay. I'll allow you to squint. So, Councillor Roper and Councillor Keeble second. Councillor Roper.
As read.
Is read. Councillor Keeble.
Thanks for that. It's interesting that, so this is the Catchment Management Authority asking us to do this, and the main reason why that's the case is because we have the 2 weirs, because the fish are unable to do what they need to do to continue life. That's fair enough. So for us it's around about, do we get rid of the weirs, therefore we don't need the fish ladders, and I'm certain that the community here in Bright and surrounds probably would not like to see the weirs gone, and I think that's probably the case across here, but it is difficult considering the cost that's imposed again on local governments to bear this burden, which is the ratepayers. But I think at this stage it's something that has to happen.
Further comment, Councillor?
I'd like to speak against the motion, thank you. I totally disagree with B. I do not see why we have to take on the asset ownership of this. If the NECMA want to build their fish passage, good luck to them, they can have it. but why should we have to take on the responsibility? It's one of these things that local governments seem to do all the time, and I've said it here tons of times, that every time something's built, the government will shift it over to you. Oh, then we've built it for you, now you look after it. And I totally disagree with B.
Councillor Forsyth.
Could I just get a point of clarification from Director Bird? If this is voted down, and then if in a next flood event or something, one of the weir walls is damaged, and are you saying that it would then become a repair, and as soon as it's a repair, then that triggers a planning permit as opposed to a maintenance, which does not need a planning permit or permit? And so once that's triggered, we would then be obliged, under whatever act there is, to actually put in those fish structures, fish passage structures ourselves, at our expense, the council expense.
Thank you, Councillor Forsyth. So my understanding is that if we undertake works which are greater than maintenance on the weir structures, that would then trigger the requirement for us to construct a fish passage. And so Goulburn Murray Water are the ones that permit us to do the works on the waterway, and they would be the ones that would impose that condition.
So what would be considered to be greater than maintenance?
So if it was damaged, in a significant flow event, large log, and that would be a renewal, that would be a repair. So
Repair, renewal.
That would be.
Okay. As it is, if we don't have an event, how long would the weirs last without?
It's a very good question. So my estimate is, and this is subject to what comes down the river, but indications are that they could last for 20 years. Estimates.
So would it be easier to stick some cable across the river prior to the weirs to stop these logs possibly hitting? Would that be a cheaper option?
That's not an option that's being considered at this point, but Councillor Roby just made the point that it still would trigger a works on waterway.
Which would mean planning, and they may not like it.
I don't know whether that would then trigger the need for a fish passage structure, but it would need to be explored.
Councillor Roper.
Well, any works that are carried out in the waterway, or the structure in the waterway, unless it's actually a pumping point, requires a work on waterway approval.
Okay.
Right? So if you're buying water from Goulburn Murray Water and you've got a pumping site, you can basically maintain your pumping site. But if you want to do something other than on a waterway, you actually require a permit. In the short message.
Yeah. I think you've answered everything.
I've got a clarification.
Yes.
So I just want a clarification. This is not a state government requirement. It's just LECMA's regional waterway strategy.
No, I believe it to be a state government requirement.
That every river has to have a fish ladder. If it has a weir in it.
So that'll be subject to the waterway.
How many fish go up and down this river? Did you count them? Because honestly, I'm not too sure.
So as indicated earlier, council officers did participate in the 9-month detailed design project, and we had specialists come and talk to us, and we asked the question, well, is that an important migration period during when the weir boards are up, during the
Well, that's
summer
my question,
period?
yeah.
And the answer was yes.
Okay.
We questioned that one.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, as you can imagine.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have the right to reply when we get to the vote?
Yes.
Right. So there's a couple of issues here. Are these things going to be ugly? I would suggest so. Yep. So I think they are going to be ugly. Are they expensive? They are very expensive. Is there an opportunity, and if something happens to our weir pools and there's a trigger in a process that requires us to have to build these, are we going to be able to find that chunk of money in the future? I think this is an opportunity for us to be proactive, and if someone else can find the cash for us to put these things in, I'm happy to wear the maintenance cost of them, and hence also some of the other changes to recommendations. hence that's why those changes in the recommendation. I think this is an opportunity to put in place a structure that will allow our river pools to be in place for a longer period of time.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Barry.
I think this point has hopefully been well made, but lest it be lost, the officer's recommendation here is primarily derived around, as Councillor Roper said, keeping those river pools in place, which we recognise are of immense value to our communities. And if we look across the northeast, other similar pools such as that at Mitamita and elsewhere have long been removed, much to the upset of those communities. So I hope it is clear that what we're proposing here is something designed around keeping a vital tourism and community asset in place, predominantly. And we understand that fish ladders are a emotive and oftentimes distractive issue, but I would encourage councillors to just seize upon the fact that what we're recommending here comes from the point of the whole entire picture rather than the individual fish ladder proposal.
Are we ready to take it to the vote?
Just a small comment, thanks Mayor. We can't pay $4 million to do this job, that's obvious. We've got to work with them. We can't live without those weirs in our, especially our summertime for tourism reasons, of course. But I think we can live with the maintenance, 80 grand looking after it, and the other fees that come with it. So I think we've got to not fall into a position where we're obligated by state government, as they hand over so many of their problems to us, to push on and work with them and hopefully come out with a good result.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper.
Can I just make a comment?
Just a moment, Chair. Just Councillor People, and then I'll get back to you. Councillor Cooper.
To Councillor Roper, I just want to have a slight amendment to what you put in, if I may. Where it says A2, I'm just wondering whether we can put it can be demonstrated by NECMA, just for clarity. It's to be demonstrated by NECMA, not the Alpine Shire. Is that my understanding of the meaning of that particular sentence? Just be good to clarify that. People happy with that?
I'll accept that.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell. Sorry, Jan, Councillor Farrell.
I've just been listening to my fellow councillors discuss this, and I think we should take this opportunity of this $4 million structure to have these fisheries passages in situ. It is a lot of money, and we certainly couldn't afford that as a council. And these weirs are utilised a lot during summer, and yep, that's about it.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Councillor Bonards.
I just want to clarify that this is only a funding application. It could fail. $4 million is an awful lot of money for the government to spend when they don't have any money themselves. So I just want to clarify that it isn't just supporting a funding application. It's not supporting where the fish ladders going in.
Yep, thank you. Councillor Roper, anything further? Oh, sorry, Mr. Bird, you want to clarify something?
Just to clarify, Councillor Bonards, yes, it is just a funding application, but as part of that, they require written confirmation who will be the owner and operator of that asset.
Thank you. Councillor Roper, nothing further for you in closing?
I'd just like to make the statement that VR Fish, or Recreational Fisheries, has a large amount of money sitting in the bank that it picks up from fishermen, from fishing licence, etc., etc. And this is where normally funding for like these projects comes from.
Thank you. We'll take it to the vote then. Comment on that. All those in favour of the proposal as is now written on our board in front of us, please. Against? Councillor Bonards, thank you. Motion is carried. 8.4.1 Harriettville Strategic Master Plan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In 2013, you'll recall there was a bushfire in and around Harriettville, followed quickly by a flood. As a result of those events, Council was successful in seeking some funding from the state government to work with the Harriettville community to look at its resilience moving forward for future events. The document that has been presented to Council here, the Harriettville Strategic Master Plan, is a document owned by the community, not by Council. And we have worked with the community to put together this document, and within it are some recommendations to Council for some projects that Council might consider into the future. So it does give some clear direction from the Harriettville community of, I think it's about 6 or 7 projects that could be placed in Council's pipeline for future funding into the longer term. So the recommendations as part of this report are that the Council recognises that the strategic priorities of the community are listed in that document, so that's recommendation 1. That the projects be included in Council's project pipeline for consideration for funding in future years. And I especially want to thank the Harriettville Community Forum and the community general for their input and enthusiasm with this project. They've been great to work with, and that also includes the various government agencies that we worked with, including the CFA, NECMA, Department of DELP, and Parksvic. So a really good project. Thank you.
I'll second.
Councillor...
Second.
Thank you. No, we've got one down here.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah,
I'll third.
Councillor Farrell. Councillor Keeble.
No, it's a terrific outcome. The project itself is an example that hopefully it can be put into other areas of the state through the Victorian Government with further funding. So well done to Harriettville community and the Shire and all the stakeholders.
Councillor Farrell.
I agree, and thank you very much, Heather, and your team for putting this together. It's really cemented the Harriettville community because they're a very, very strong group, and congratulations.
Any further comment?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Harriettville's been one of those special little towns in our Shire that work so well together and work well with us as a Shire too, as projects have been identified and pushed forward. And congratulations to a lovely little community up there that some of the outcomes have just been fantastic.
Any further comment? Take it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. (8.4.2) Event Funding Program. Sorry, this is where we have some useful chairs, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I give an overview?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Events are a vitally important component of the Alpine Shire economy, and you'll note in the report that total events in 13-14 years were 72. We're now grown to 109 events this year, so in 3 years there's been a 24% increase in events. In that time also, the impact of events held across the Shire in this coming year is expected to have a $29 million impact on the economy of the Shire, and that's also an increase in previous years. That's probably a fairly conservative estimate too, based on participants and only one night stays, when we know many events have multiple night stays. This year the event funding round opened in May and closed in early July, and 64 applications were received, almost double the number of applications since the program began. We had a small panel including representatives from the 3 major towns' chambers of commerce, and attended with some councillor representatives as well. All the applications were assessed, and within the report, I'm not going to go through every single one. There is a whole range of events recommended for support, both in sponsorship and logistical support. And logistical support includes things like road closures, road traffic management plans, those sorts of things that council does, but we account for the cost of those. So the recommendation from...
Actually, can I just move that council approves the following events for logistical and or sponsorship support apart from the Murdochwood Rotary Club swap meet where Councillor Forsyth has a conflict of interest.
Thank you. A seconder for that, please. Councillor, was Councillor Roper, sorry.
Can I just...
Councillor Von Arx, yes.
Sorry, I'll just say that well done. There's an awful lot of people there getting money from the council, which is fantastic. And if you actually saw some of those events, some are small, and we're still, they still get our support, which is fantastic. It's not only the big ones that we want those little ones to thrive as well. So well done to the team. And actually, I should add that there is a second part of that motion, which I will add, which is advise the unsuccessful applicants that their applications were not successful and thank them for their proposal. So, with indulgence from my seconder, thank you.
Councillor Roper.
Councillor Von Arx has covered off more than adequately.
Thank you. Any further comment?
No, I just see that in the event funding we have remaining funds of 24/7. We also have logistic funds, I'll put inverted commas around that, of 30,000. Have those funds, was it a similar amount last year? Can you remember that we had left over?
Leftover? No, I can't recall.
Okay. And if that funds aren't used, and whether or not you can put this as a recommendation, Councillor Von Arx, if those funds aren't used and seeing they've been allocated, can they be added to the funds for next year?
The short answer is yes. What we would be proposing is some alternative uses for that funding, and that will come back to council at a future date.
In the events field, though?
In the events field,
okay.
And in addition, for any new events that come up that were unanticipated, and that's particularly with the logistics funding, because we know there will be events that haven't put in for funding that will require logistical support.
Okay, then the question arises then, if the remaining funds of the 24,000, if an event came to you in, say, 2 months' time that hadn't gone through the process and hadn't gone through the procedure, how would you then decide that that event was going or should be funded?
We would not. We would come to council. We wouldn't make the decision.
Okay.
Council would make the decision.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Keeble.
Thanks. In regards to events, a lot of shires certainly look at the Upper Shire with the amount of events that we have, and what you have in front of you are not all the events for 2016, 2017. How many events do we have, Heather?
Over 100, well over 100.
So over 100. So when you look at a yearly amount, we're looking at more than 2 events on average
Each
a week, roughly. Some shires in the state of Victoria have 1 event for the whole year. There was a question earlier I noticed in regards to logistical money. The money that we spend on logistics in the over 100 events that we have certainly brings in a whole lot of financial benefits to our community, and I think our shire has done a great job getting a whole lot of events up and supporting events from seed funding all the way through to major events, so it's been terrific.
Any further comment? Sorry.
Can I just add, I had a local businessman in Bright say to me, I don't know what council's doing with events, but can they please keep doing it. And certainly I think the attitude we have of being supportive of events, both from a councillor level and officer level, certainly makes it easier for the event organisers, both the community-based ones, which are terrific, as well as those that are business-based ones. And we have a really good team and a really good working relationship with all the event organisers.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Farrell.
I'd also like to agree with Councillor Keeble that 100 events per year is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to your team again as well. Thank you.
Okay, can we take it to the vote, please? All those in favour? Carried.
I'm exiting the chamber.
Yeah, just have the minutes note that Councillor Forsyth is leaving at
Time is 8:12 p.m.
8:12 p.m.
I move that the Medford Show and Shine swap meet be approved for funding.
I'll second.
Councillor Von Councillor Farrell.
No comment from me. Maybe
Comment?
Charlie can get.
No comment from me either.
You can just go.
Further comment? No further comment. All those in favour? Carried.
If I could, I'd like to move the next one, if that's okay with everyone, that council allocates funding as follows, apart from the funding for the Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre, where Councillor Farrell has a conflict of interest, and the Myrtleford Lane Care, where Councillor Janice has a conflict of interest.
Seconded.
Second.
Councillor Forsyth. All those in favour?
Can I talk to it?
Yeah, well, just the amendment.
Can I,
Yes.
can I talk?
Yes, you can have it.
Again, taking Heather's thunder here, again a great lot of community grants being issued, some for big concerns and some for little ones, but I think it's fantastic that there's so many people that are hearing about our funding now, and they're coming with their applications. I remember when I was on the committee about 7-8 years ago, you'd be scrabbling for, should we give them that more, you know, who have we got to give the money to? So this is fantastic, and I congratulate everyone and encourage people to apply for this funding, and thank Heather's team again for their effort. Thank you.
Councillor Forsyth.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I'd like to just say that, look, there was 11 applications when you go to the end of this that did not receive funding. Some of these have been actually pushed back into a maintenance situation as opposed to a community grant. And of the ones that got up and over the line, there are very few of them that didn't receive enough money to complete what they wished to do. The decisions that were made on the day, I believe, were to do with the fact that the organisation making the asking for the grant had excess funds sitting in bank accounts or in term deposits or whatever. So when people, if they come to council and want a grant for something that we feel that they could probably fund quite easily themselves, then we push it back onto them anyway. So I think, all in all, Jan Mock's done a fantastic job with that, and the people, a great group of public, just the public, I think there's about 8 people sitting on that, including 2 quite young people, school children, shouldn't say that, teenagers. They were in their final years at school, so and they had a big input into the decision making. So I think it was a very good outcome.
Can we take it to the vote? All those in favour? Carried. I will vacate the chair and ask the Deputy Mayor to take... Oh, I have to move a motion.
Yeah, I'll move the motion that the Deputy Chair take over the Deputy Mayor take over the chair for the remainder of this item.
Second that. Councillor Pearce seconds. All those in favour? Let the minutes show that Councillors Farrell and Janice leave the meeting at this point. areas, Mr. Keeble.
I'm going to stay right here. I think I'll change chairs. No, I'm not changing anything on your chair. It's okay. Okay, recommendation is one, allocate funds as follows.
Sorry. Mount Beauty Neighbourhood Centre, Middleton District Land Care and Sustainability Group, and also, if you go down to the bottom of those, there is a further motion or recommendation that we liaise with the following applicants to better understand the requirements and need for the proposed projects and determine whether they can be completed within the asset management program, as they both relate to council-owned assets. One is the Kiewa Valley Historical Society upgrade electrics, and Murdoch Neighbourhood Centre flexible learning hub improvements, which is a new carpet. And then note that the community grants program will insist in the delivery of $458,700 of community projects to be undertaken in the 2016-17 financial year, and feedback and assistance be provided to unsuccessful applicants to find other potential grant programs that may be available.
Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I second, Mr Acting Mayor.
Councillor Forsyth. Sorry, Councillor.
Oh.
Councillor Forsyth. Anything in Councillor Bonnox?
No, thank you.
No further comment, Councillor? No? Any other comments? Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Can we please have them come back in? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Charles Taylor, Charles Chambers over the block, Matt Beauty and Brock.
All those in favour of that motion, put your hand up. Motion for the Mayor to continue proceedings.
I second.
In accordance with the Act, to the best of my knowledge of the Act, once the Mayor resumes position, he's now back as the Mayor. Yeah.
Done.
Chair.
I hope that Councillor Keeble hasn't applied for higher duties allowance this evening.
It'll come out of yours.
Come out of mine. Happy to do it. We're moving on. Item 9, assemblies of councils, councillors, as
So moved.
seen, Councillor Von Oaks,
Second.
Councillor Keeble. Anything to say, anybody on that, as read? All those in favour? Yep. Okay, carried. Presentation of reports by delegates. Councillor Farrell. Second. Anyone? Sure. Councillor Keeble. Any comment on any of that? As read. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Item 11, general business from my left, Councillor Forsyth.
No business.
Councillor Keeble. Councillor Keeble, sorry. Councillor Farrell.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Keeble. Councillor Von Oaks.
Yes, I do have one. I'd just like to mention that question time in our chamber is a courtesy which we give to our residents. Most councils do not have question time, and I believe that this is probably our question time is getting out of hand. It takes over more than half of our council meetings, and I believe that some of the questions raised, and I'm not suggesting by Mr. Little by any chance, but Mr. Dyer's gone, can be raised with the relevant director or by the CEO, and I think you get a concise answer from there. And I just feel that as a council, our question time should be curtailed. This is the first council I've visited that ever has question time, to be quite truthful. And you sort of, people who I say we have question time, they say you're mad. But we do it because it has been enjoyable. But just lately it's been getting out of hand as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. My thought goes out to a family up on the German Creek, up there on Dunstan's Track. Given the amount of rain we've had in the last few weeks, Darryl Farmer and his family in particular that I've spoken to, I just wonder how they're getting on there, sitting on the flooded German Creek and getting access to their property, and how the ford across there is unusable. And I asked Councillor Bird, how's things going along that line? Maybe next October he might be, who knows? Director Bird, excuse me.
Councillor Pearce, yes, we, as indicated at the June 28th council meeting, we have progressed the investigation into the requirements for a bridge or culverts across that waterway, and it's proceeding as planned. And our intention is to come back to council at the quarterly meeting in September with advice on the cost and requirements to install a bridge or culverts at that location.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Given that it was on the table not that many years ago, I hope it's definitely back on the table soon.
Yeah, Councillor Roper?
Yes, another one to Mr Bird. Just wondering, approximate costs of clean-ups for the heavy rain and falls of rock slides and trees around the Shire with heavy winds associated also?
Thank you, Councillor Roper. I really should have done some more research and homework in that regard. It hasn't been too significant to date. When I say in comparison to the amount of the storm event that happened in February earlier this year, but we have set up our accounting budget in a way that we're capturing all the costs associated with these events. So I can provide that information to you at a later date. I suspect we will incur some more costs as the season continues on.
Thank you. I think Councillor Keeble has omitted to ask a question.
Director Bird has reminded me, for the Kura Valley residents, and all the Alpine Shire residents for that matter, the insurance claim for those storms in February have come through, and so the works in the Mount Beauty area, especially in the library, will be commenced in the near future.
Yep. That's correct, isn't it?
That is correct. So at the last council meeting, council moved motion or award the contract to the contractor for the Mount Beauty Library redevelopment, subject to the insurance claim being settled. So that's excellent news, and works will be commencing in the near future.
Thank you. Some good news to take back on the other side of the hill. No further general business. Motions for which notice have previously been given. There are nil. Reception and reading of petitions. 13.1, the Mount Beauty Skate Park Committee.
I'd like to move, please, that we accept this petition and let them know that we have put some money in the budget for Director Bird? Scoping and design, thank you. But thank you for their petition, and that's been fantastic that they've had the opportunity to come to us and prove their point that that's what really is needed over there. So well done.
Seconder for that? Councillor Farrell, thank you. Any further comment? No, as is. Councillor Farrell? Okay, we'll take that to the vote then. All those in favour? Carried. Documents for sealing. Recommendation that the following documents be signed and sealed. Heads of agreement with Independent Stockman Project Proprietary Limited and Alpine Shire Council regarding vegetation offset provision at Dinner Plain.
I'll move.
Councillor Farrell. Second. Councillor Pearce. All those in favour? Carried. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the people who have watched on YouTube or whatever it is these days. Please drive, not a big tech mode, but please drive safely home. The bit of debris on the roads at Vic Roads probably haven't cleaned up, but I'm sure our roads are pretty good. And I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. Thank you and good night.